In the first video, we talked about the different ways in which you can take legal action against your negligent doctor. And I also joked about how the most convenient thing to do is to take sticks and stones to the hospital and bully the doctor. But if you remember, I also said that in the long run, it can hurt you more than it can hurt the doctor. And this video is to explain to you just how that can happen. Welcome to my channel Law and Doctor, where I share with you all the information on medical law that you ever going to need as a patient. I'm Dr. Dilip Walke, a Pune-based gynecologist and obstetrician who also moonlights as a free medico-legal consultant for his colleagues and now for you too. So if you find my work informative and helpful in any way, do hit the like button, share this video and subscribe to my channel. Alright, enough chit chat. Now let's get to the topic. Let me tell you what happens in a typically volatile mob violence situation. A medical negligence or a billing issue or some kind of mishap occurs in the hospital. The relatives tend to panic, which is quite natural. Panic leads to desperate questions, desperate demands to fix the problem, and when that doesn't happen, it leads to resentment. And that too is understandable. I'm sure if I paid through my nose for my daughter's education and she came back home using wrong English, I would also feel cheated. And once someone feels cheated, he is bound to wage a war. Before we know it, there is an army of distant relatives, neighbors, local goons, and so on and so forth, coming at the hospital reception, feeling very charged and heroic about their act of vengeance against the blood-sucking, incompetent retard in the lab coat. And after they are done throwing their weight around, these people go back thinking that they at least inflicted some pain and righted the wrong. But remember, what you don't know is that doctors, especially now thanks to the pandemic, have gained some legal protection against the act of bullying. And yes, this is an act of bullying. Here are some of the precautions that even the most careless doctor will take. Most hospitals have CCTVs installed in every corridor. Hospitals now employ bouncers as security staff, so there is a good chance that not only you will be caught on camera, you will be caught on camera getting beaten up yourself. Hospital staff is trained in seminars, mostly by people like me, to first dial 100. The 100 number is a hotline. All calls to this number are recorded and all calls have to be attended by the police. You must also know that vandalizing a hospital or lynching a doctor is not something like a bar fight. You can't say sorry boss garma garmi mein ho gaya or think that if you have the support or connections with some local goon or politician, you could get away with it. You're not the only one having such connections. Now, I always advise my colleagues not to associate with any political names. But if there is any time that a doctor will ever use these connections, it is now in this situation. So if you are caught even so much as pushing a medical staff, please remember that much is enough to put you behind bars. Now let's talk about the law that you will be charged under. Some Indian states have their own laws against mob violence, which are relatively similar to each other. Now I can't cover all of them, but here is an example of Maharashtra that I can give you. It is called the Maharashtra Medicare Service Persons and Medicare Service Institution Prevention of Violence and Damage or Loss to Property Act number 11 of 2010. Any offender who commits or attempts to commit or even abets or incites the commission of an act of violence against any doctor, paramedical or support staff or damages the infrastructure of healthcare facility shall be punished with imprisonment which may extend to 3 years, with fine which may extend to 50,000 rupees plus an amount twice the amount of damage caused to the property as decided by the court. This law is cognizable, meaning you can be arrested without warrant. It is non-bailable, meaning you can't get bail in the police station itself. You will have to spend the night in the police custody and then be presented in front of the magistrate on the next working day. And this law is non-compoundable, meaning the offense is against the state and not against that particular doctor. Once the case is registered, the doctor is not responsible anymore. You can't go to him or her offering a compromise. They won't be able to take the case back even if they wanted to. In fact, I'm not making it up. But this very thing happened when there was a mob violence in my hospital a few years ago. We made a police case under this very act that I mentioned. There were 5 miscreants. They were arrested and released on bail, and a criminal case against them is ongoing for several years. Meanwhile, one of the 5 kids completed engineering and he wanted to apply for post-graduation in the United States. And now he is having a tough time getting his passport because he has an ongoing criminal case against him. I do feel bad for this boy, but I cannot help him even if I want to. My only message to him, if he is ever watching this video, I'm sorry, you should have kept your hands to yourself. Anyway, moral of the story is that one macho moment of revenge like you see in some Bollywood movie is really not worth the lifelong trouble it will cost to you. So please do not fall for it. And this story is of a few years ago. Now because of the pandemic, doctors' legal rights are protected even more. Now we have become COVID warriors. And there is a new and improved central government ordinance passed specially for preventing vandalism against healthcare professionals in this pandemic. Here are a few points from the ordinance that you might want to know. Definition of the act of violence has been broadened to include, in addition to physical violence, acts like harassment, intimidation, impacting the living or working condition of the healthcare provider, even pulling prank call stunts or puncturing their tires for that matter. Now the punishment is between 3 months to 7 years and the fine is between 50,000 to 5 lakhs. The act is also cognizable, non-bailable and non-compoundable. Now usually an accused is considered not guilty until proved otherwise, but in this case he will be presumed guilty unless proved otherwise. Court can grant additional compensation for causing grievous hurt to the victim and double the fair market value of the damage to the property of the healthcare setup, which means you break a glass door also, God help you. You can't wriggle out of paying the compensation in this crime because that can now be recovered as arrears of land revenue. As of now, this is not a permanent ordinance, meaning it is only to be enforced during the duration of the pandemic. But doctors and the medical organizations are fighting tooth and nail even as we speak now to get the government to make this law a permanent law. So if all goes well, this will become a central law soon. Okay, with this we come to the end of our video. I'm sorry if I came across as standoffish or preachy, but I am hoping that you're going to go back with a little more knowledge than you had before about this topic. So once again, if you have found this video helpful to you, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel and share it with anyone whom you think can benefit from this information.